Hi everyone, welcome back to the third edition of E-Commerce Day 2017. We have Flinch with us. She will be our next speaker on stage. My name is Irina, I'll be your host for the last time in this session. I would like to thank all of you for joining us today. We're really grateful for the great lineup that we have and for you guys being here to join us. We would also like to thank our friends and sponsors from GetResponse. Polly, our next speaker, she's the Director of Marketing for Windsor Circle. They're helping retailers grow their customer lifetime value and customer retention. Today, Polly will walk us through the best practices, tips, and tricks for creating your Facebook display ads. Polly, I'll let you get to it. We're all yours.
Thank you so much. And thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. So let's just hop right into it over here. So the presentation today is creating predictive display ads on Facebook. And so we're going to walk through that. As you know, this is me. I'm the speaker. My name is Flinch. I'm the Director of Marketing here at Windsor Circle. And I did promise Omniconvert that I would throw up a picture of my dog as well. He made an appearance last year as well. So he's on the right. That was him passing his puppy obedience classes. And if you have any questions, he runs the house, not me. So I've been trained very well by him. Just to give you a quick background on Windsor Circle before we hop into the agenda, we are a predictive marketing platform, and as stated, we basically help retailers to grow customer lifetime value through omni-channel predictive marketing. And so we work with over 300 plus CPG and retail clients. We have 37 million plus consumer records, and here's just some of the brand names that we are happy to call our clientele. So really what we do is we help retailers to power predictive data in email, social, and display. So here's just a couple examples of that. You have your cart recovery campaigns from left to right, then your browse abandonment, a predictive win-back campaign. So based on when someone should purchase, you might trigger automatically an email to them if they haven't made a purchase by that date. And then just two examples here, and we'll talk more about this in depth, of display advertising for Facebook. So one of these is a product upsell, the top one, and the bottom one is actually a lookalike campaign for best customers, layering in sort of Windsor Circle data and then also some of the Facebook data. So that's an option as well, and we'll talk more about that. So that is really what I want to say about Windsor Circle. One of our metrics that we look at and we sort of surface to our clients is that they're seeing a 20% lift in revenue, 20% plus lift in revenue from customers who are treated with Windsor Circle campaign data. So that's really how we help measure and see how we're moving the needle for retailers and brands that we work with. So with that, our agenda, we're going to start with a state of advertising on Facebook. We are then going to talk about creating effective and efficient display ads. Then we're going to pop into a brief case study about WriteStuffAnime.com, one of our clients, and then there'll be a Q&A session at the end as well. So let's first talk about the state of advertising on Facebook. And I always find the best way to kind of get your mind around something is to kind of look at some of the numbers and the data to back it up. So there are 1.86 billion monthly active users on Facebook worldwide. That is actually a 70% growth year over year. So while we're seeing some social media sites are kind of seeing this downturn or they're not getting as many subscribers and users, Facebook does not seem to have that problem. Also, it's important to note that Instagram is a part of Facebook, so that's kind of bundled into this number, but it's one of the fastest growing social media sites that's continued to grow. There are 2 million businesses advertising on Facebook, and 1 in 5 page views in the US occurs on Facebook. Similarly, looking at some like revenue and benchmarks, so we've seen a 26.3% global increase in spending on social media, a 59% increase in ad revenue for Facebook from these ad campaigns that businesses are running. Additionally to that, there has been a $595 million mobile ad revenue has been earned by Instagram. So that's really a market, once they added things like the buy button and being able to purchase directly from the ad itself, has been a really big uptick for Instagram. And then people who are using Facebook or Instagram to do any of their advertising, they're usually seeing a 0.9% average ad click-through rate and a 64-cent average cost per click. So summing up what all of this is saying is really having a social display strategy is really key to staying competitive. It's not enough just to have sort of your organic Facebook page and bring people to like it. You really need to be actively finding people to engage with, whether that's your best customers or whether it's acquiring new ones. And finding a way to do this in an efficient and focused way, and cost effective as well. So let's talk about that a little bit. So creating effective and efficient display ads. The first step with this, because it can get pretty overwhelming, is really identifying your low-hanging fruit. So what are your key segments? What are your campaigns? One thing I always like to think through is if you're already running sort of lifecycle marketing campaigns, things like a best customer campaign or a win-back campaign for churn customers or even cart recovery campaigns, right? So you have access to this data. How can you then utilize that in your social display ads? Maybe you can surface key products to best customers to get them to buy something new, or invite them to a VIP event that's in your in-store location near them because you have geographical data. So things like that to think about what segments to play with. And then even on that end, not even just targeting, let's say, your best customers, maybe you create a lookalike campaign off of a subset of your customers as well, right? So can you find people who look like your best customer and get them into your acquisition funnel? Same thing with campaigns. If there are certain campaigns you're currently running, say on email, that are doing really, really well, think about how you can then kind of hit it with a 1-2 punch of creating a Facebook ad to go along with that campaign. So they're running simultaneously. So you're really creating that echo chamber effect to get in front of these customers. Remind them you're there, remind them you're part of their life, and get them to come back and purchase again. Because that's ultimately the whole goal of all of this. So when you're setting up your creative, there's a couple of tips, and here's just an example I pulled from my Facebook feed actually. There was this study that was done by Espresso, and I can send out the link later. And they looked at, I think it was over like 40,000 different advertisements, and they kind of looked for trends, right? And part of it was like keeping things simple and clear. That was kind of the main takeaway. So, the median length of your header, which is actually the small new spring styles are here, was 5 words. The median length of the main text, which is that top piece underneath the Stitch Fix, was 14 words. And the median length of the link description was 18 words. So the call to you as a marketer is to create, and this should be no surprise, create something that is simple and clear and to the point, but then grabs attention as well. So really thinking through, like, what is the point of your ad? What are you trying to get them to do? And if you are doing a more narrow and focused advertisement, you have more opportunity to create those ads that are going to actually speak to the person, right? So instead of just getting a list of 10,000 people and marketing one thing to them, can you break that down? Maybe it's by geography, maybe it's by what they purchased in the past, and can you start to create ads that are actually going to kind of create that spark where someone's just blindly scrolling through their feed and they go, oh wait, I actually know that product, or I know that name, let me back up and see what that was about. Because that's how you're going to really combat that sort of zombie effect. Like I do it all the time, where I just am on my phone just mindlessly kind of scrolling through it because I'm bored and sitting on my couch. And so how do you grab their attention and get them out of that slump? So a couple ideas here to get you started, and I've kind of bucketed these into two types of campaigns. There's one-time campaigns, and then there's sort of automated syncing campaigns. So we're going to talk first about these one-time campaigns. So this would be a list of people that you pull in. Maybe you're doing a lookalike campaign here as well. It kind of depends on what you want to be doing. But basically, you would pull in your list and you advertise either one-day sales or flash sales, new product launches targeting people who've maybe bought a similar product, or even the holidays. So when you have like things like, Christmas and Black Friday and Valentine's Day, Father's Day is coming up, things like that, like is there a section of your customer base that purchased in that time frame last year that you want to get in front of again? And this is a great way to do that, right? So this one-time campaign, and you want to make sure that you're pulling these people out as they purchase. So maybe you refresh that list on a, say, weekly basis as well. The sync use cases, or automated use cases as I like to call them, are fairly interesting because it does a lot of this stuff that you see in the one-time campaigns, but it's done automatically. So with a direct integration to Facebook, and this is something we actually do on our end for our clients, is basically they can create a segment. It will sync into Facebook and pull in a list of clients based on the criteria, so things like what they purchased, how long it's been since they purchased, a predicted trigger date, things like that. And from there, once someone has made a purchase, they would get removed from the list. So this is a great way to make sure that you are not reselling the same message to someone once you've already sold them the product, if that makes sense. So some key campaigns to think about here would be like a lookalike campaign, which would be great for if you're trying to do some more acquisition on Facebook, and that's a great way to get in front of people. So you can find people, let's say, who look like your best customer. And actually on the slide I showed you that had sort of the examples on it, there was the bottom Facebook ad. That was actually one of our clients who created a best customer segment within Windsor Circle, synced it over to Facebook, and then used Facebook data as well to target people who like a certain one of their products that they sold as well, since they're kind of a reseller. So it's interesting to think of ways that maybe you can find these groups of people who might be a great indicator of someone else who would be a good customer for you. So other options would be cross-channel messaging. So things like winning back your churning customers, right? So can you pinpoint a segment of people who should have purchased and maybe haven't in the past 3 to 6 months? Can you use a predictive churn date on that and get in front of them before they've churned, and make the message fairly generic, but a call to action to bring them back? What would that look like? Maybe it's free shipping. Maybe it's just a reminder that they have all of these great perks as part of being a valued customer. Your first purchase campaign, so we know email can get overcrowded, so can you put up a message for anyone who's made their first purchase with you and hasn't made a second yet, maybe with 10% off their next purchase, or with recommended products if they purchase from a certain category, using carousel ads. Best customers, I kind of mentioned this earlier, but like a VIP campaign, or if you have an e-commerce and brick and mortar presence, one thing you could think about doing is maybe targeting people who would come to an in-store event with like a sneak peek campaign through Facebook. Replenishment, that's a great one we see with our consumable goods clients, where you can set up basically predicted replenishment display ads. So I buy shampoo, I use it daily. We know that I run out of shampoo and I rebuy every 3 months or so. Around that 2-month mark, I might start seeing Facebook ads in my feed, kind of reminding me to come back and make that second purchase. So that's a really nice way to kind of plant the seed before someone's supposed to purchase, because the last thing you want is for me to be, about to shower one morning and be like, oh man, I'm out of shampoo, and just run to the store after work that day. So if you get in front of me early and based on my buying pattern, there's a better chance that I'm going to purchase from you. And then also doing things like browse and cart reminders. So people have obviously been interested in a product, they've been browsing, they've looked at that product multiple times, or they've even put it in their cart, but they didn't buy. So is there a way you can create a campaign that highlights that product or category of products? And then once they make that purchase, they would just be taken out of that segment. So that's a really interesting way to think about Facebook ads, is can we make them less manual and more automated? And that's where we're seeing sort of the trend going to these days. And so instead of me just kind of talking to you about it, I figured it'd be easier to show you a case study of one of our clients, Right Stuff Anime, that really speaks to this sort of setup. So Right Stuff Anime is one of the largest distributors and e-retailers of anime-specific products in North America. They are generally competing with big box stores, so people like Amazon and Best Buy in this particular niche industry. So they were part of our beta program with our Facebook ad groups, and they ran sort of 2 campaigns on Facebook just to test out and see how it would work. They've been doing Facebook advertising through Facebook itself before this, and so they just want to see what would happen when they added in this extra data. And generally, so Jake, our digital marketing manager there, he likes to look for at least a 10x ROI on any digital marketing initiative to make sure it's a success. So that is their metric. And that's a really good point to bring up too, which is when you do like new campaigns, it's really good to understand what does success look like for your company. What has been the status quo? What have you been okay with? What would make it a screaming success? What would be like, okay, this kind of works, but we need to tweak it. So really understanding your metrics and like how to move the needle is really important when you're doing this. So we're gonna look at both of these advertisements that Right Stuff Anime created. So we'll start with the first one. And this advertisement was a product cross-sell campaign. And Jake, actually, we were talking about it, and he decided to do a really intentionally small segment. I think it was like 300 and something people, and they had a reach of 149 people, which is small, but it was a niche audience and on purpose. And how they targeted is they created a segment of people who had purchased one of the videos on this ad on the right-hand side and had not purchased the other one. So basically they marketed people saying like, hey, you have this, but you don't have this particular video, which is about to be released. It's the first time it's being released. Pair them together. You can save some money. And what they found with doing this, and they ran this ad for about, I think it was about a week, maybe 2 weeks. The reach was 149. There was purchases. There were 16 total. The conversion rate was 9%, and their ROI on this campaign alone was 13x. So it already kind of checked the box of yes, this is a success. Interestingly enough, we were looking through the data, and the average order value for this particular segment was much higher than you see when people would just normally come to their site to purchase. So what that meant is customers and people on Facebook were seeing this ad, they were going to their site, right, to Fannie Mae's site, they were buying not only the 40% off item, they were then actually adding in more stuff. So they ended up spending more money than they would have if they had just wandered onto the site themselves. So that's a really interesting driver of like, hey, we gave you some value add information, you're really excited about this product, and then you just start adding new things. And that's really great when you get someone on your site and they start doing that. So advertisement 2, so this again was another product upsell campaign. And so what Jake was really testing with these 2 campaigns was how will this stuff work with a product release, let's say, and how can we really move the needle when we get new products in, or say there's something happening. In this case, there was a movie coming out, Ghost in the Shell. And so this is based on a movie from, I want to say it's the 1980s. I'm probably getting in trouble for not knowing this off the top of my head. But it's been around for a while, and so there was a remake done very recently. And so they were capitalizing on that opening. So again, they targeted purchasers based on their products they purchased in the past. So anyone who had purchased Ghost in the Shell, anything in the past, I think in all of their customer history, was targeted with this. And really, it was just prepare for the upcoming film. There was no, percentage off. They did. Once you got to the site, it was 30 items that they had actually marked down. But what they found, again, was the really incredible results. So they ran this ad for 10 days. They spent under $100. So they had a $10 per day budget on this. They had 100 purchases and a revenue of $13,000. So their ROI was 144x, which is huge. So really what you saw here was, part of this is good timing, but it was a nice ode to the fact that when you put the right information in front of the right person at the right time, chances are they are going to be much more willing to click on and buy and do whatever it is you want them to do. So this kind of runs the gamut when it comes to Facebook advertising, from conversions, which is important and sort of the main thing that I tend to focus on, but even just engagement. So getting someone to do something. Maybe it's, you're working on a rewards program and it's, like our social page and you get X number of points, right? So that would be something where you'd want to target people who've done, maybe spent a certain threshold amount or had like this one product but not this other one. So just ways to think through how you can get the right actions and who is that target audience is sort of the key foundational point to then be able to do Facebook display ads and knock it out of the park. So with that, I'll just leave it with this quote, and I apparently speak very quickly. So we're kind of ahead of schedule here is basically what I'm trying to say, but Jake said this to me when we were on a call, and I thought it was really interesting. He said, the numbers really speak for themselves. We've tried other solutions for Facebook and weren't getting anywhere near our minimum of a 10x ROI. We were excited by the ROI of this campaign. And I mean, when you look at the numbers, it's very understandable why he is, but it's one of those where one of the important things that I kind of want to highlight is that while, yes, this is one retailer, this is something that we're seeing replicated by clients time and time again. So as a retailer, you know your audience better than anyone else. Like you're in there living and breathing this stuff all day. So you're going to know what segments you should be going after with different product releases, or even just, cross-sell opportunities. And that's the really key thing to kind of hone in on when you're doing Facebook advertising. So there's sort of that saying like less is more and more is more, depending on what you're trying to do. In this case, if you're trying to drive conversions, probably less is more. So let's figure out who we're going after and go after them. More is more, that might be a better approach if you're trying to do more acquisition, but even then, like, can you be targeted in picking your wide swath of people that you're gonna try and go acquire through Facebook? So with that, you can actually download this case study at windsorcircle.com/ecom-day. I just need to put in your name and email address, and this kind of talks through a lot of what we talked about here. We do have a lot more resources as well on our website. If you go to windsorcircle.com/resources, so everything from Facebook to just best practices for email and lifecycle marketing as well. And I believe, because I talk a mile a minute, and sorry about that, we are ahead of schedule, but I am ready for questions if there are any.
Thank you so much for the talk, Polly. It was really, really interesting. I put down a lot of notes. I actually have one question for you. When creating a customer segment, what criteria do you recommend? Like how do we create like a good customer segment?
Yeah, so I think that would really depend on what the goal of the segment is. So say you're doing a best customer campaign. If you understand sort of the number of purchases that you generally need to see for someone to stay for more than, I would say maybe like 3 purchases. So probably like anyone who's made 3 or more purchases, or if you want to do threshold amounts, so they've spent over $500, right? And so you can start narrowing in on your segments that way. Depending on the cost of the thing that you sell, that might come into play there, but usually looking at the data is the first step. So understanding your average order value, understanding what products tend to lend themselves well to someone continuing down the funnel to buy more. Are you, recommending the right products to them? Things like that is really important there.
Cool. That really does answer my question. Thank you so much, Polly. Do we have anything else from the audience? Anyone wants to ask Polly anything else? While you guys are writing down the questions, stay tuned. We have a lot of speakers coming up with interesting talks, so don't leave, we're halfway there. So I think we have a few more minutes. Okay, RJ has a question. He's asking, what would you recommend a startup do in order to get the most from Facebook? Yeah,
so that's a great question. It depends. So I know I keep talking about retention because that's what we do over here, but at a certain, depending on how much you sort of are making right now and how many customers you have, you might be better served to focus on acquisition, but do it in sort of that relevant way. So based on the information you currently have about customers, right? Do you know, and can you do a lookalike campaign off of them? So maybe you can export your best customers from a segment, put them into Facebook, and then do a lookalike campaign. Are there certain criteria, like maybe if you sold, well, I don't know what you sell, but if you were selling something that's like, I don't know, beauty products, maybe you have a segment that is your best customers, you do a lookalike campaign on them, and then you layer in Facebook data to say, and anyone who's liked, this page on lipstick. I'm blanking on makeup right now, clearly, but so like, can you find some brands that you would sort of have overlap with, and can you market to those people who tend to like those pages, if that makes sense? That would be my recommendation. The other thing would be sort of the low-hanging fruit is usually things like cart recovery. If you do cart recovery campaigns already, a great way to kind of take that to the next level is do some Facebook campaigns around it as well. So so-and-so abandoned their cart, they left a pair of socks in it. Can you get back in front of them with an ad on Facebook being like, hey, there's something in your cart, you should come back now and check it out, right? Or maybe it's a free shipping promo, things like that, that you can do that are small but impactful in that way.
Cool. Yeah. We have another question from Raluca. She's asking, what's the minimum budget to start with experimenting on Facebook ads when you're just getting started?
Yes, that's a great question. So Right Stiff Anime is actually a really interesting one. So they've been around a long time, but with these advertisements, they were using $10 a day. And you'll know pretty quickly whether it's working or not. So you don't have to break the bank when you're sort of starting with experimenting. So look at what you have available for advertising. Generally what I say is if you want to do a test, don't go and find net new money, just take out of your already advertising budget. Can you steal $100 from something you're doing maybe with retargeting or ad roll and then just shift it over? So $10 is usually a pretty good place to start. If you need to go lower, that's fine too, but you'll know quickly whether or not it's going to work for you.
Cool. You get a lot. I see you're getting a lot of like great talks, Polly.
And I'm just reading the comments. I'm like, oh, thanks.
Yeah, so guys, if you like Polly's talk, then just remember that if you share any insights, ideas that you got from any of the talks on any social media with a hashtag ecomday 2017, you'll be included in the draft of winning a $9,000 worth Omniconvert account to help you retain your customers better, increase the average order value, and do cart abandonment with that. So check it out, and maybe you'll be the winner. We'll announce it on our Facebook page tomorrow. Cool. So we're gonna have a 5 minutes recess. Oh, we have another question. Sorry, Pedro is asking what works best these days in terms of ROI on Facebook ads, pics, gifts.
Yeah. So great question, and I don't have much to go on that, and I'm really sorry. But I mean, off the top of my head, I think it kind of depends on what you're trying to sell and if a GIF or video even makes sense. So like, again, this kind of goes back to like you don't need to break the bank. If you have the right imagery already and you can create some nice looking carousel ads or even just sort of like the stock images and do a test of, so when you do like one main image, you can have 6 total hero images that it flips through, so you can kind of see what's working best anyways. That's a great place to start. If you know that people are engaging with video, and people like videos, let's be honest, no one likes to read anything anymore. It's a great place to go to. I would say that. I would say if you're trying to get someone to purchase a product, I would stay with lifestyle images and imagery that's going to get someone thinking about the product on them. If it's trying to get more engagement on your Facebook page or to get them to sign up, maybe if you have a subscription service, so it's like you can have a video of someone signing up and then getting a box at their door and things like that, that might make a lot of sense. But yeah, that's my long-winded answer about that. So I don't have an answer, but that's my gut reaction to that.
Cool. Sure. Thank you so much, Polly. Yeah. Awesome talk.
See you soon. Take care.